nice to be here with you on the GlobalLight Broadcast, the last one for the year. I'm sorry I wasn't with you last month. I had to take a visit to Dr. Apple and get a whole new operating system for my iMac. And I thought that was kind of interesting at the end of the year as we move from one year into the next, as we cross that threshold into the new year. A new operating system, kind of metaphoric about the projection of our new selves, our upgraded selves for next year. And I don't know how much time we spend considering that projection, like I talked about last month, where believing is seeing versus seeing first in order to believe. We've got that creation process backwards. And we always project from that main point of attraction, from what our subconscious mind holds as dominant. And normally, because nobody had a perfect upbringing, no matter how perfect your life was or your childhood was, we all at some point before the age of 7, when that part of our brain begins to mature, we have experiences that we don't have an adult rational mind that can separate ourselves out from the experience and say it was the experience that caused an emotion. Instead, we make it personal. So it becomes I'm not good enough, or I'm not safe, or I'm not loved. So everybody has some form of negative dominant programming that we have to get in and unravel and create positive, because that point of attraction is what is projected forward. And also all input, right? All conscious mind activity, all data association with how you view the world is weighed against that. Well, the ancients, before crossing into the threshold of the new year after the winter solstice, would commune with nature, because they knew that their survival depended intrinsically upon their relationship with nature. So they would sit under the wise oak tree and wait for the wisdom to drop in. Well, that's putting yourself in a trance state and accessing the super conscious intelligence and trusting that information that you receive. Would it be a harsh winter? Would it be a long winter? Would they need to gather and store more food? How could they best prepare so that they would survive the winter? And now it's interesting because more and more we are turning around and embracing more alternative understanding of things. We have science now working to validate some of this type of current day wisdom. And what I mean by that is science is now showing, especially those who are mapping the brain, are showing that we, by the time we're 35, are just walking on autopilot. We've already made our decisions. We have our opinions. We have our perceptions of the world. And we continue to project that out in front of us and attract that back. But we tell ourselves a current day story of why that happens. And you can see how that just creates this loop, almost like Groundhog Day, over and over and over again, experiencing the same things and then justifying that by saying, well, this just doesn't work out for me. I just make enough money, or businesses don't work for me, or I can't seem to have a relationship that's healthy, or that makes sense, or feels supportive and nurturing. And we justify that with a current day reason. It's politics, it's the economy, it's the world. But if you really break that down, you have everything you need already within you to determine if that dominant programming projects out and attracts back what you actually enjoy. So at any moment in time, as you ponder what's important to you and what you want in the future, you begin to break that unconscious pattern of thoughts and beliefs and inject new positive beliefs. That's how we start to reprogram the conscious mind, by utilizing the skills and abilities of the subconscious mind. But it requires us to have some quiet, to take some space, to sit under the wise oak tree, communing with nature, and ponder what next year will be for us. in essence, looking at the operating system and deciding if we need that upgrade. What's the upgrade look like? Well, that becomes the story you tell yourself. So what are you telling yourself that next year is going to be for you? The ancients believed that we were entering this sacred time. In fact, the 12 days of Christmas actually came from, that was a religious change on converting the ancients into following a certain religion, but the origin of that came from the 12 omens. And every day they would look for a sign from nature that would indicate to them what they needed to do to prepare for next year. So there was that opening up internally and accessing wisdom, and then choosing an action that would follow that wisdom. So following your own inner knowing, but inner knowing that's current and present and aware, versus a lot of information being streamed at us now. Technology is incredible. It allows me to do this, to reach you in your living room, in your space, and have a conversation. But we also need to recognize that it has been designed to meet your every need so that you don't have to ever tune in, go into that trance state, access the super conscious, feel it out for yourself, decide what you want in the future, and then bring that right to you, making adjustments and tweaks along the way. No such thing as failing, only feedback. As opposed to, I'm not good enough. Things don't work out for me. I've tried this before. It doesn't work. These absolute statements. So again, I want to ask, what are you telling yourself the next year is going to be like for you? Is it going to be hard? Is the world collapsing around you? Is it going to be uncomfortable? All those things may be coming, but you can thrive and help others to thrive as well if you adjust that dominant programming in the subconscious mind, if you adjust your beliefs around it. Because I want you to start to put this together in a way that's so logical, you can't deny it. So let me ask you, when you go to sleep at night, you don't have to tell your heart to beat, do you? No, subconscious mind takes care of that for you. Its job is to keep you safe, to keep you alive, to move you away from pain and towards pleasure. But that's where things get a little wiggly. In its attempt to move you away from pain, it has memories of where you experienced pain. And so it begins to sabotage you whenever you get close to scenarios where you may experience pain again. So going back to that time before we had that rational adult mind and could really reason with ourselves about experiences and circumstances, the subconscious mind thinks and acts like a fifth grader. So we have to see what our patterns are. We have to become conscious of what we unconsciously believe every day. And we do that by taking that quiet space, by turning off the news, by stepping away from social media and everything that's coming at us, and just tuning in. What do I really believe about next year? What do I want next year? How do I cross this threshold in a space and in a way that allows me to be hopeful and excited and grateful for where I am, but eager about what's coming next? Right? How do we put ourselves in that space? So we have to pay attention. And in the simplicity that we don't have to tell our heart to breathe, or tell our lungs to tell our hearts to beat, or tell our lungs to breathe through the night. I want you to think about it in terms of your day. Do you wake up in the morning and take one deep breath in and hold it for the entire day to make sure you have enough air? Are you afraid that other people around you breathing are going to take all the air from you, that there's not enough air to go around? No, that just seems sort of silly, doesn't it? We just breathe in and out. There's always a supply. There's always enough. And the more that people need, the more that there is. If somebody's jogging versus someone's driving their car, a little less air, a little more air. But we don't check in with each other and make sure that the air that you're taking isn't taking away from my air. We don't believe that, do we? We don't make that association, and yet we make that association with money. We make that association with our own self-inflicted judgments and beliefs about ourselves. Now hear this, because it's easier to say and project that because situations are the way that they are, ours won't work out. Now, does that mean that there is an imbalance in the world? Of course there is. We've all seen that. But what I want you to understand is the more that you fight against that, the more your point of attraction continues to validate that belief and make it true for you. So it all comes back to, what do you believe for yourself next year? What do you want in this next year? Where do you want to grow? What do you want to evolve into? How do you want to serve? How do you want to help? Because in that 180-degree pivot into, this is what I'm good at, this is what I love, this is how I want to share it, whether that's through work or how you show up in relationships or how you show up parenting or how you show up in the world for yourself, feeling happy, hopeful, safe. You have a right intrinsically to those feelings in the same way that you go to sleep at night and just breathe in and out. Your worth and your value and your capability has nothing to do with how well you breathe at night or your heart beats at night. Your subconscious mind just governs over it. I want you to really get this, because if we take the heightened emotion out of the equation and just allow ourselves to be in the statements of, I'm very grateful for where I am. I'm doing great where I am. I'm learning and tweaking and evolving and changing, and here's all the things that are coming that I want, that I'm so excited about. The subconscious mind only takes instruction. It doesn't judge or analyze. It doesn't have that skill. The conscious mind analyzes. And most of us, science is showing, we spend 90% of our day in the subconscious terrain analyzing data and weighing it against our dominant negative memories. So what do we yield? We yield that which validates those dominant negative memories, that programming. So as we get into this pattern over and over and over again, our nervous system has a faster and faster response until it's just automatic. I think it, my body responds. I think it, my body responds. And here's the piece. The subconscious mind communicates through our body because that's what it has access to. It governs our autonomic nervous system. So as we start to feel something, we get caught up in the conscious mind analyzing and justifying by what we see in the world. Yet, what we really need to do is back that up and go back to that internal awareness. It is just your subconscious mind trying to speak to you. First, it sends the emotions, right? We feel something. And if we're not investigating how we're feeling, if we're investigating it only at the conscious level and justifying it by what we see in the world, it doesn't resolve. And so that emotion then evolves. It evolves into a physical response. And then that physical response gets justified, and we believe, hear this, our genes play a dominant role. Well, our genes play a role, but not the role. And epigenetics, the study of our perception of our environment influencing our genealogy, turning on and off our genes, is based on our perception of the environment. So we're back to the conscious mind again. But at the subconscious level, the body response is simply the subconscious mind trying to tell us, hey, I've got beliefs about this that are not in alignment with the superconscious version of who we are. What do you want me to do with this? I have an imbalance. So you want this, but we believe this. And it sends you that communication through how you feel. And then if we don't actually create that balance again, if we don't go in and amend the beliefs that are taking us out of alignment of the superconscious version of who we are, that all that is, we have that extension of the divine energy, we all have that belief that, we are in a physical expression, but there's more. There's more to us. There's a higher self, or there's the universe. Whatever your beliefs are about God or the universe or angels, there is more consciousness that we have access to around us that drops in those solutions that seem like they're out of nowhere, but they're not out of nowhere. They are when we are in alignment and they can get in like an open window. But if they're not, and we're believing something about ourselves that isn't true, then we've got a mismatch. And the subconscious mind is trying to tell us, we've got a mismatch. I need your attention. What do you want me to do with this? And so the emotion then becomes a physical response. And if that physical response, if we don't address the mismatch, becomes an ailment, becomes symptoms, because it governs the body. Is that starting to make sense? So this is an opportunity at a time where I hope you will slow down a little between Christmas and the New Year. I hope that you're not busy all the time. I know it's a busy time of year. Sometimes for some it's a really lonely time of year, but it doesn't have to be either or of those. If you make a commitment to carve some time out for yourself to slow down, to be quiet, to turn off everything, and find where that mismatch is. How has your body been trying to talk to you? That's your subconscious mind. What's it telling you? And what are you telling yourself about what that means? Because that is the most powerful projection for next year that you're making. And it's a time now to make new statements. It's a time now to really investigate what we are believing. And it doesn't mean that the things happened in your past didn't happen. Of course they happened. And we don't give a pass to where things were inappropriate or painful or hurtful. But we begin to understand that only in that holding on to those beliefs are we now the ones hurting ourselves by maintaining those beliefs that I'm not safe, or people aren't nice, or I can't seem to make more money, or things just don't work out for me, and the world is showing me that things just don't work out for me. It's that that's creating the belief and the circumstances now. And it's just because this happened, that's the justification of it. And that is absolutely changeable. That is where the subconscious mind is now at the basis of everyone's studies now that I've been following scientifically. And what's really interesting is, what's propelling it is that there is more and more and more acceptance that we are capable of so much more than we ever believed. In fact, our subconscious mind is more powerful than any artificial intelligence or any computer or any medical device or any medication ever. It governs your body. So, the epicenter is in discovering what you believe about yourself. And do you believe that you have the right to be here breathing air? Therefore, you have a right to be meeting your own needs, making enough money, living happily, being in a joyous relationship, connecting with others. You know, I read some statistics that were a little bit sad for me that states that 6 out of 10 people have reported not having a single friend. Not a single friend. So what we believe can be incredibly isolating and create a life that justifies those negative beliefs. And it's time to amend those beliefs. I'm also reading that right now more kids, more millennials are opting out of college. And yet the self-help industry is tracking right now, it's projected to generate $65 billion by 2025 and to 2030. So in the next 7 years, in the next 2 years, they're projecting a $20 billion increase. What does that say? That's saying that millennials don't want to learn from the old ways of our educational system. They are investing in themselves through others who have their skill set and who are showing how they've built their companies, they've built their businesses, they've built their lives, they've built their skill set. So we are hiring each other as mentors and coaches and teachers to learn from people who can actually say, this isn't coming from a book. Here's my statements. I can walk my talk. I can back that up, and I'm going to show you how to do it too. This is where the acceptance of so much more, thanks to the development of technology. So everything that you want is out there, whether that's something you want to learn, something that you want to play. And I want you to hear this, that you have that skill set too. That if you have desires of really stepping into doing what you came here to do and not dabbling in it, you recognize that the dabbling is just the self-belief, right? That's the limiting belief, and that's the subconscious mind trying to move us away from pain and towards pleasure. Well, I love it, but I'm not sure if it'll work, and if it doesn't, then I'm going to feel like I failed or that it wasn't meant to be for me, so I'll just do a little and see. And we never quite actually live the way we want to be living. Well, think about the trajectory of the self-help industry that you are in. What is it that you've experienced in your life that you've learned so much from, that you've mastered, that you now can help others move through? And that is what's being supported. We are all beginning to look differently at ourselves, at the world around us, the changes that we can make, how we connect locally. And so I wish you, as we move through this season, some space and some time and some peace and some reflection. If you want to investigate what specifically is in the way for you, if you can't quite see it, because it's difficult to see, it feels like us, then I do believe clinical hypnotherapy is an incredible modality. I am amazed at the results that it yields with clients, and I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you to investigate what it is that you're looking to change, what you want. It's a beautiful time to be giving back to yourself. Your unique skills matter. Your contribution matters. Your happiness is already valued, available, and allowed. It does not matter what you've experienced through your life. It matters what you still believe about those experiences now that are going to determine your happiness, your success, and your thriving going forward. And so I wish you the most wonderful holidays, whether you are with a crowd or whether you are all by yourself. Snuggle in. Tune in with nature. You are never alone. You could not possibly be connected to such an incredible universe that we are a part of. And you are an important part of that universe, and I want you to know that. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me into your hearts, into your homes all year long. Thank you to Steve, especially, for this incredible platform, this show that reaches tens of thousands of people around the globe every month, all free of charge. It's incredible what you do, sir, and I am very honored to be a part of this show. I wish everyone deep peace, beautiful healing. Breathe in and out. Breathe your success and your happiness and your joy, your health and well-being. We need you. Blessings. See you next month in the new year.